Have you ever wondered why 3 a.m. feels so different, so hauntingly awake while the world is fast asleep? Do you find yourself staring at the ceiling, asking, why now? Why me? What if this quiet, restless hour isn't a curse, but a calling? You're lying in bed. It's dark, silent. The world outside is still, but inside, your mind is a storm. Thoughts race, jumping from one to another. You glance at the clock. 3 a.m. again. You whisper to yourself, why can't I just fall asleep? Maybe you've started to wonder, is something wrong with my body? My mind? You're not alone. This scene plays out night after night for many, especially as we grow older. But instead of understanding, what often follows is frustration, confusion, even helplessness. Here's something few people will tell you. Waking up at 3 a.m. is not a sign that something is broken. In fact, it may be a sign of something ancient, something natural, a quiet evolution within your body's rhythm, a rhythm that has pulsed through human beings since the beginning of time. This moment of wakefulness, it's not a flaw, it's part of your story. And through the compassionate lens of Buddhist philosophy, it can become a moment of clarity, a gateway to deeper peace. In Buddhism, we are reminded again and again, nothing lasts forever. Our bodies shift, our thoughts evolve, even our sleep patterns, like the moon, wax and wane. Change is not the enemy, it's the nature of life itself. So the question isn't, how do we fix this? It's how do we embrace it mindfully? Can we transform these early hours from burdens into blessings, from restlessness into reflection? Today, we'll explore exactly why your body may be waking you at 3 a.m. and how this isn't just a sign of aging, but a sign of inner evolution. We'll walk the path together through the wisdom of Buddhist philosophy, discovering how this experience, though often unwelcome, can become a doorway to serenity. Because sometimes, understanding why we wake up in the middle of the night can change not only the way we sleep, but the way we live. We've just seen how waking up at 3 a.m. isn't a mistake. It's a sign of change, a quiet rhythm shift that can carry meaning if we look at it through the lens of Buddhist wisdom. Now, let's explore what that wisdom truly teaches us about impermanence and acceptance. In Buddhist philosophy, one truth is gently repeated over and over again. Everything in life is impermanent. Nothing stays fixed. Not our thoughts, not our emotions, not even our bodies. And this natural transformation in our sleep, it's just another step on that ever-changing path. Rather than treating it as something broken or needing repair, Buddhism invites us to see it as part of our ongoing human journey. Think of the way the seasons change, from the warmth of summer to the stillness of winter, softly, steadily, without resistance. Our bodies shift in the same way, quietly moving from one phase to another. Just as we adjust to colder weather by layering clothes or stay indoors when the sky rains, we too can adapt to changes in our sleep. Resistance only brings more discomfort, but awareness, the practice of mindfulness, can help us meet these moments with curiosity and compassion. Instead of asking, why is this happening to me? We can ask, what is this moment asking of me? That subtle shift in perspective can transform frustration into understanding. Take, for example, Harold, a 72-year-old man who for most of his life slept like a rock. But lately, he found himself waking up around 3 a.m. nearly every night. At first, he panicked. Was it his health, his mind, something deeper? The unfamiliarity felt unsettling. But when Harold learned that this wakefulness was linked to the natural decline in melatonin, his worry began to soften. He made small adjustments, dimmed his bedroom lights earlier, cut back on screen time before bed, and took quiet evening walks to reconnect with his body's rhythm. These gentle, mindful changes created a space of peace rather than resistance. And slowly, Harold discovered that this shift in his sleep wasn't a problem to be fixed. It was a message to be heard. In Buddhist teachings, suffering often arises from our clinging to how things used to be. We grieve for lost patterns, for what once brought comfort. But when we release that attachment, when we allow the moment to be just what it is, we find serenity. Our bodies, like our minds, are in a constant state of evolution. And when we stop resisting that evolution, we stop struggling. We begin to flow. Coming up next, we'll look deeper into how our sleep cycle itself begins to shift as we age, and how understanding this natural rhythm, known as advanced sleep phase, can help us feel more in tune with our own unique timeline. Previously, we explored how the decline in melatonin and the natural shift in circadian rhythms are not flaws, but invitations, gentle reminders to live in harmony with our evolving bodies. Now, let's take a closer look at what it really means to wake up at 3 a.m. and how we can meet that moment with mindfulness and grace. It's 3 a.m. The house is still. The sky outside remains dark, and yet you're fully awake. At first, it feels frustrating. You glance at the clock again, hoping it's not that same hour. Why am I awake? What's wrong with me? This early waking may seem like an annoying glitch in your system, something to fix or suppress. But in the gentle teachings of Buddhism, we're reminded that nothing is fixed. Everything, from the chatter in our minds to the rhythms of our sleep, is in constant motion. Change isn't the exception, it's the rule. Like the natural transition from day to night, our inner rhythms are also shifting. And instead of resisting, our role is to flow with these changes, to greet them not with fear, but with awareness and compassion. Buddhism encourages us to fully inhabit the present moment, to awaken not just from sleep, but to a deeper understanding of ourselves. This unexpected wakefulness, as frustrating as it might be, is not a punishment. It's a subtle invitation to tune into what your body is trying to say. When we release old expectations about how we should sleep, when we ought to rise, we create room for something new, something wiser, more aligned with who we are today. This isn't about giving up, it's about growing with grace. Let me share a story. Charles, a 68-year-old retiree, used to be confused and irritated when he kept waking up at 3 a.m. He believed his sleep was somehow broken, but then he learned about advanced sleep phase, a natural shift in circadian rhythm common with aging. Rather than continuing to fight it, Charles began to gently adjust. He stayed up a little later each evening, not by forcing himself, but by creating calming rituals. A few pages of a novel under warm lighting, a slow walk under the stars. These small acts, rooted in awareness, helped bring his waking hours into better balance with the rising sun. What changed wasn't just his schedule, it was his mindset. What once felt like a disruption became a quiet, enriching part of his life. So many of us cling to how things used to be. But in Buddhist thought, peace begins when we let go, when we meet impermanence not with fear, but with an open heart. The truth is, our sleep patterns, like our lives, are constantly evolving. This shift doesn't mean we're broken. It means we're alive and aware, In those early morning hours, when silence blankets everything, we're given a unique gift, a space to practice mindfulness, to listen inwardly, to breathe into acceptance. There's no need to force yourself back into an old mold that no longer fits. You've grown. Your body has changed. Your needs have shifted. And that's okay. Next, we'll explore how Buddhist nighttime practices can help transform these quiet, wakeful moments into sacred opportunities for reflection, calm, and deep inner peace. In our previous reflection, we discovered how embracing changing sleep patterns with mindfulness can lead to peace, not frustration. Now, let's turn to another common reason behind 3 a.m. awakenings, the physical discomfort that naturally accompanies aging, and how Buddhist wisdom can help us meet it with grace. As we grow older, our bodies begin to speak to us in new, sometimes quieter, sometimes more persistent ways. A creaky knee, a tight back, a sudden urge to use the bathroom. These may seem like small inconveniences, but they can disturb our sleep and leave us feeling agitated or drained. What once went unnoticed now calls for our attention. In the deep silence of early morning, when the world outside is still and calm, these physical discomforts often feel magnified. The ache in the hip, the dryness in the throat, the sudden awareness of pressure or stiffness. But what if, instead of resisting these moments, we welcomed them as invitations? Buddhism teaches us that suffering is a part of life, but that suffering doesn't have to mean distress. It's not the pain itself that causes us to suffer most, but how we respond to it. Through mindfulness, we can transform discomfort into insight. We can pause, listen, and tend to our bodies the way we would comfort a loved one, with patience and understanding. Waking up due to physical discomfort doesn't mean our bodies are failing us. It simply means they're asking us to pay closer attention. Many older adults experience discomfort that makes sleep elusive. Conditions like arthritis, acid reflux, or even the fatigue of lying in one position too long can tug us out of rest. For others, a shrinking bladder means more frequent nighttime bathroom visits. And for many, the side effects of medications, like shifts in body temperature, light sensitivity, or disrupted hydration, only add to the challenge. Let's take this story of Eleanor. At 76, she had always been a light sleeper, but recently she noticed herself waking up every night around 3 a.m. At first, she chalked it up to aging and accepted it with resignation. But one day, she mentioned it to her doctor, and what she learned changed everything. Her medication, it turned out, was affecting her body's hydration levels, causing her to wake up more often. With her doctor's guidance, Eleanor adjusted the timing of her medication, started drinking more water earlier in the day, and cut out caffeine after lunchtime. These might seem like small steps, but they made a big difference. Slowly, she found herself sleeping more soundly, waking less frequently, and feeling more at ease when she did. Her story reminds us of something vital. Our bodies are still communicating with us, even, especially, in the stillness of the night. Every ache, every wake-up call is a gentle nudge toward greater awareness. Buddhist practice encourages us to treat ourselves with kindness and compassion, even when we're uncomfortable. Rather than judging or blaming our bodies, we're taught to honor them, to listen to their needs and make small, meaningful changes that align with their natural rhythms. Physical discomfort doesn't have to steal our peace. When we meet it with mindfulness, it becomes a doorway, an opportunity to care more deeply for ourselves, to reflect, and to reconnect with the body that carries us through this life. So, the next time you find yourself stirring at 3 a.m. because of an ache, a chill, or a restless sensation, pause, breathe, ask gently, "What does my body need right now?" In the quiet hours of the night, physical discomfort may wake us, gently reminding us to listen to our bodies with compassion. But sometimes, the reason we stir at 3 a.m. is not due to pain, but simply the natural result of how our daily lives have shifted over time. As we age, our routines begin to soften. The once hectic days packed with meetings, commuting, errands, and social gatherings gradually fade into slower, quieter rhythms. Many older adults find themselves eating dinner earlier, winding down soon after the sun sets, and moving through their days with a bit more stillness than before. Without the external cues that once structured our lives, a full calendar, scheduled calls, or late-night obligations, our internal signals take the lead. And often they guide us toward rest earlier in the evening. Before we even realize it, our sleep cycle begins to shift. We go to bed earlier and wake earlier, sometimes as early as 3 a.m. But this isn't a malfunction of the body. It's a natural response to a lifestyle that has evolved. Buddhism teaches us that the habits we build shape our experience. Every routine we repeat, no matter how small, has the power to influence our body, our mind, and yes, even our sleep. Just as we nourish our bodies with food, we nourish them with our choices, our actions, and the energy we bring to each moment. Take Walter, for example, a 74-year-old man who had recently stepped into retirement. With fewer obligations, his evenings grew quieter. He began eating dinner at 5 p.m., nodding off in his recliner during the evening news, and heading to bed well before 9 p.m. At first, it seemed harmless, even comforting. But soon, Walter noticed a pattern. He kept waking up around 3 a.m., long before the first bird sang or the sky hinted at dawn. Puzzled, he began to reflect. He realized that his early meals, early rest, and quiet evenings had shifted his internal clock. His body wasn't broken. It was simply adapting to the slower pace he had created. Instead of resisting, Walter leaned into mindful change. He added a short walk after dinner to gently activate his body. He spent more time in brighter light during the evening, and he avoided napping after his meal. These subtle adjustments helped delay his sleep window, gradually realigning his rhythm with a wake-up time that felt more natural and energizing. This gentle return to balance didn't require drastic changes, just awareness and care. Buddhism reminds us that mindfulness is a tool for transformation. When we become aware of how our daily routines affect our physical and mental state, we are empowered to make conscious choices, ones that support our well-being rather than disturb it. Like a farmer tending to his crops, we must nurture our habits with intention. In doing so, we create a life that flows in harmony with our true needs, bringing peace, stability, and presence. So if you find yourself waking at 3 a.m., instead of frustration, consider reflection. How do I move through my day? When do I eat, rest, connect, or slow down? These questions may hold the key to understanding your sleep, your rhythm, and your inner balance. Small mindful changes can shift the way your body rests, and in doing so, they shift the way your heart feels at peace. Buddhism teaches us not to fear change, but to walk alongside it. With awareness, we don't just adapt, we grow. And in this growth, we find deep, quiet wisdom waiting to guide us home. We'll explore how waking up at 3 a.m., far from being just a biological pattern, may also hold spiritual significance, especially within the Buddhist tradition. Previously, we explored how lifestyle shifts can gently reshape our sleep patterns. But beyond the physical, there's another powerful force that can awaken us at 3 a.m., one that resides not in the body, but deep within the heart. As we grow older, the quiet moments of the night often become a sacred space where unspoken emotions begin to rise. In the stillness of 3 a.m., when the world sleeps and distractions fade, memories may surface, longings may whisper, and feelings we pushed aside during the day can emerge with unexpected clarity. It's not always a physical ache that wakes us. Sometimes it's the weight of an emotion we haven't yet named, a thought we never fully faced, a sadness, a memory, or a question lingering in the background of our awareness. In Buddhist philosophy, emotions are not seen as separate from who we are. They are not flaws or weaknesses. They are simply part of the human experience, interwoven with our thoughts, actions, and physical sensations. The Buddha taught that everything is interconnected, and that includes our feelings, even those that visit us in the quiet hours of the night. Rather than pushing these moments away, we are invited to meet them with compassion. These early morning awakenings, though they may feel unsettling, can be powerful openings for emotional healing and self-discovery. When we wake, it may not be because something is wrong, but because something within us is ready to be seen. Our hearts, so often silenced by the pace of daily life, finally have the space to speak. Consider the story of Gloria, an 80-year-old widow. During the day, she stayed busy, tending her garden, chatting with her grandchildren, and enjoying her favorite television shows. But at night, around 3 a.m., she would wake with a quiet ache in her chest. Not from pain, but from remembrance. Memories of her late husband would gently rise, soft conversations they shared, joyful laughter, quiet moments that lingered like echoes. At first, Gloria feared something was wrong with her sleep, but over time, she came to understand. Her body wasn't broken. Her heart was simply processing what it hadn't had time to during the day. Instead of resisting these awakenings, she began to embrace them. She placed a small journal by her bed, and when she woke, she would write whatever came to mind. A dream, a memory, a moment of grief. No judgment, just release. She also added a simple evening ritual, listening to soft, calming music, or writing a short, heartfelt note to a friend. These small acts became expressions of care, ways to honor her feelings instead of fighting them. Slowly, Gloria began to sleep with a lighter heart. Buddhist teachings encourage us to see our emotions, even the painful ones, not as problems to fix, but as waves passing through the ocean of our being. By staying present with our emotional restlessness, we create space for healing. The Buddha often spoke of mindfulness as the key to facing suffering, not to eliminate it, but to witness it without becoming overwhelmed. When we sit with our emotions instead of suppressing them, we open the door to transformation. And sometimes, what feels like insomnia is actually the heart asking us to listen, just a little more closely. We'll explore how Buddhist monastics and spiritual seekers have long viewed the early hours of the morning, not as disturbances, but as sacred times for awakening and deep inner connection. In the previous section, we saw how nighttime emotions are not disruptions, but gentle messages from the heart. Now let's take a final step inward and ask, what if 3 a.m. is not something to resist at all, but something sacred to embrace? Waking up in the dark with emotions rising like a tide, we've all felt it. But emotional restlessness at 3 a.m. doesn't have to be something to fear. It's not a sign of weakness nor a flaw to fix. It's simply a part of life's rhythm, the heart's quiet way of speaking when the noise of the day has finally faded. Instead of forcing ourselves back to sleep or silencing those feelings, we can choose a gentler path. We can pause, breathe, reflect. We can softly ask ourselves, what is my heart trying to tell me right now? Is it grief that needs to be honored? A memory that longs to be remembered? A worry that's been quietly waiting for space to be heard? Buddhism teaches us that there's no right way to feel. There's no urgency to rush through or escape our emotions. Instead, we're invited to meet them, tenderly, mindfully, without judgment. By practicing self-compassion in these quiet hours, we transform what once felt unsettling into something sacred. These early awakenings become moments of growth, windows into the deeper corners of our inner world. When we begin to honor our emotional landscape, not only in the daylight, but in the stillness of the night, we strengthen our connection with ourselves. And through that connection, we make room for peace to return. As we reach the end of this exploration into the mysterious hour of 3 a.m., I invite you to shift your perspective. See these moments not as interruptions to your rest, but as invitations to reconnect with your most authentic self. Remember, the changes in your sleep cycle, the earlier mornings, the nighttime awakenings, they are all part of a broader, ever-evolving journey. In Buddhist philosophy, we are reminded that everything is in flux. Our bodies, our thoughts, our emotions, each is constantly flowing, never fixed. When we stop resisting that flow and instead meet it with awareness and kindness, we discover something remarkable. Peace isn't lost. It's simply waiting for us in a quieter place. So the next time you wake at 3 a.m., ask yourself, what am I learning in this moment? How can I use this insight not only to support my sleep, but to care more deeply for my heart, my health, and my daily life? What small act of kindness can I offer myself the next time the early hours come calling? Your awareness is the beginning of transformation. Thank you so much for joining us on this journey today. If this message resonated with you, please consider giving this video a like, sharing it with someone who may need it, and subscribing to Buddhism Seeds. By subscribing, you help us continue bringing peaceful reflections, mindful teachings, and timeless Buddhist wisdom into the lives of others around the world. Until next time, may you find serenity in the quiet moments. May your path be steady, your heart open, and your journey filled with compassion, clarity, and deep understanding.